job. The mics are live. Welcome, everybody, to the After Dark with Malcolm and Lisa show on Real Talk 100 Radio. Thank you so much for tuning in. Y'all already know how we do it. Once a week, we make sure we highlight a small business. We make sure we highlight an underground music artist. This week, it's not necessarily a small business. I think it's a pretty big business. This guy's in big business in Texas, and he wants you to know exactly who he is. And we're going to introduce him tonight. But first, we have to hear from our trusted co-host here. We have to hear from her. It's Lyrics New Radio. She's about to open up a radio station way in Mesa, Arizona. We also have to give a quick shout out to our sponsors. Our sponsors, we love them. Without them, we are nothing. We'll get back to our sponsors in just a second. Lyric, what do you have for us tonight?
What's up, everybody? You know, this is your girl Lyric with Lyrics New Radio. We're on here to talk to the new and up-and-coming commissioner, land commissioner, and I'm so excited because I'm a newbie with this, so I'm going to learn something today. And, you know, my mama used to always say you can't never not learn something every day. So we're going to have some fun with this. You guys, you have the number down there if you want to call in and ask any questions. You can call and ask questions. You know, Malcolm is the big man in the house, so we're going to let him ride this.
Yes, indeed. Thank you, Lyric. Thank you for being here. Thank you for supporting us as usual. I can't wait till she opens up in Arizona, y'all. She'll be moving to Mesa, Arizona sometime soon, and we will be sister radio stations. Whatever we do here, that people in Arizona will know, and vice versa. Whatever she does in Arizona.
We're based in Houston, in Arizona, but we're gonna be
bouncing from one city to the other.
We're gonna be New York. We're trying to bring up new talent everywhere. I want to show some love everywhere. So
that's what I'm talking about. Yeah. Talent everywhere. Now, this next guy we're about to introduce, I don't know if we can help him in Arizona, but hey, maybe he has some kind of support in Arizona that can utilize him down here in Texas. I'm not sure how that works. This is Land Commissioner, Mr. Land Commissioner, the hopeful. He's the hopeful. Who's in position right now? Go ahead and introduce yourself, Mr. Sir.
Well, my name is Michael Lange, and nice to be here today, and it's good to be a part of something so dynamic and so fun and growing. It's wonderful.
Thank you. Let our listening audience know, what exactly does a land commissioner do, sir?
It's a great question. Land commissioner is probably the least understood job in all of Texas state government. So it's a statewide job. Everywhere in the state of Texas, where there's Texas, you have responsibility. It started in 1835, but what does the land commissioner really do? I want you to think about an American football field. Think about that for a second.
That's easy for me. I watch it every Sunday.
I'm a suffering Texans fan. So I'm also suffering Longhorns fan, so I get that.
Oh, man.
Now, I want you to think that football field, and I want you to think about 13 million of those. 13 million American football fields. That's what the land commissioner of Texas is responsible for. That's the land the people of Texas own. And also to all the investments and all the income that comes from that property.
Okay.
Right now, there's about $1 billion of income per year that comes from that land. And guess where that $1 billion goes? To the permanent school fund. And what's the permanent school fund? It helps pay for kindergarten through 12th grade. So for the kids, for the teachers' salaries, and helps the parents. So think about this. How many teachers' salaries can be paid by $1 billion a year? That's how important this job is to the people of Texas. But it goes on from that. Now, I want you to think about the coastline of Texas, from West Orange at the top, all the way down to Brownsville at the bottom, 1,284 miles. Guess who's responsible for that?
You?
The Texas Land Commissioner. Well, if I get elected.
If you get elected, okay.
But it gets more fun. I want you to think about those football fields again. I want you to think about one of those football fields being totally underwater. You can't see anything but land, only water.
Look, I'm grabbing my remote now and I'm putting it on ESPN.
Cool.
And,
okay. And 2 million of those football fields underwater. Ooh. That's what the Texas Land Commission is responsible for.
I'm gonna be upset Sunday.
So let's say you're on vacation.
Okay.
In South Padre Island or Freeport or Galveston or wherever you want to go, and you're standing on the beach looking out into the Gulf of Mexico.
Okay.
And you have to imagine 10.35 miles out into the Gulf. Everything you see is the responsibility of the Texas Land Commissioner.
Okay.
So if anything goes wrong, hurricane, oil spill, a plane crash, a shipwreck, The Texas Land Commissioner is responsible for that.
Say that again. Anything that happens, any catastrophe that happens,
Any
whether
hurricane, any
okay.
disaster, anything that goes wrong, an oil spill, a shipwreck, a plane crash, any permitting, any coastal erosion, anything that happens, the Texas Land Commissioner is responsible for it.
Okay.
On the entire Texas coast.
Okay.
So when that happens, are you the first person they call?
Well, I'm one of the first people, but let's give an example of why it's important, say, to the people of Texas, but more say important to Harris County and Houston. Hurricane Harvey hurt a lot of people. This was a very bad hurricane, and guess who got hurt the most? We did. I'm born and raised in Houston. I've got a big Texas family here. I've got 2 sons of my own, and that really hurt Harris County tremendously.
Right.
Now, what a lot of people don't realize is that even though Texas Land Commissioner deals with Texas, he also gets federal money. So when the U.S. federal government gives money for the hurricane relief, it goes to the Texas Land Commissioner. The Texas Land Commissioner then gives that money out to the counties that need it. So the current Texas Land Commissioner, George P. Bush, right, nephew of W, right, he decided to play politics. He didn't care about people. He just said, look, when Harris County said you have to put in bids and ask for things, Harris County put in about $980 million to help pay for people to get their lives back.
Okay.
So they could pay for their homes, their recoveries.
Say that again. That number for the people way back there in the back, 980.
900, let's call it almost $1 billion. So Harris County and Houston, who got hurt the most people hurt, the most damage, put in for almost $1 billion. And then this is federal money, not from the state of Texas. This is money the U.S. government gives to Texas to help pay for these things.
Mm-hmm.
But the land commissioner is responsible for getting it out there and helping rebuild all these things. So think about this, 980 million, most people hurt, most impacted county. There's over $4 billion available. Guess how much money George P. Bush gave to Houston Harris County? They asked for almost $1 billion. Guess how much he gave us?
250,000, if that.
Zero.
Zero. So he misallocated $980 million.
Well, what he did was give it to other counties around Texas, especially on the East Texas, that were barely affected. So the place that most people were affected got zero. Now, that's politics, not human need. If I had been land commissioner, guess what? That money would already be in the hands of the people who need it. So what's happened now? The U.S. government said, hang on to something. Something's wrong here. This doesn't make sense. Originally, there was a deal to go from zero a few weeks later to 750 million. But guess what? That didn't work either. So now the federal government has held back $2.3 billion from federal money going to people in Texas because the land commissioner didn't do his job properly. And this has happened literally in the last 2 weeks. And this is how the land commissioner affects your life every day.
So the people that didn't get help though, exactly, because I'm not really familiar about the politics or anything like that when it comes to that. But the people that needed the help that didn't get the help. So where do we get the help from then?
Well, right now it's whatever their insurance company paid them, or whatever they could get locally. But it's all this money, over $2 billion. I think the number is 2.3 billion, that should be in the hands of the people of Texas who got hurt, who need help. And guess what? It's stuck now because the Texas Land Commissioner didn't do his job, or he played politics. He forgot the number one rule of being a politician is to keep people safe, to do the right thing. Human need matters. Treat everybody with equal respect. And it's wrong. And one of the reasons I decided to run for land commissioner was that I've been Democrat since I was 16 years old. I grew up in Houston,
Right.
but also I grew up in rural Texas. My family has a small ranch and we work it. It's not like we have people that work for us. We do the work. I've got the scratches, the barbed scratches on my arms to prove it. So not only am I a city guy, and I love Houston, but also I'm a rural guy. I know how to wear cowboy boots, and I know what it means to live in rural Texas and live there, not just kind of show up, but actually live there. It's important to me.
Okay.
And I've been lucky. I've worked in Texas, I've worked in America, and I've worked all over the world. But this land commissioner's job, it's one of the few jobs in state government where if you do it well, that means every single day you can make people's lives safer and you can make people's lives better if you have the desire and the guts to do that. And you heard what our current land commissioner did.
Right. Now, I want a question. Now, I understand about the hurricane relief and disaster relief that you have, but I also read that it has a lot to do with you helping the school system.
Absolutely.
Because I have children in school, and I'm very interested in that part of it.
One of the least understood things is the permanent school fund. And permanent
Right.
school fund is this huge $50 billion plus, but it helps pay for kindergarten through 12th grade.
Okay.
No, in the Texas rules, the Texas Land Commissioner, because he's responsible for these lands, all the investment income, the income generated from Texas lands, a lot of it has to go to the permanent school fund.
Okay.
And last year it was over $1 billion. But here's something to think about. No land commissioner that I've ever seen or researched has ever made it part of their responsibility to want to improve the Texas public school system. My mother was a teacher.
Okay.
I've got two sisters who work in education.
Okay.
And here's why it's really important for me personally. I am the son of immigrants. My parents were working class immigrants. My father came to this country. He could barely speak English. He was poor. He had no money. And more importantly, he was the first person in his family to ever finish high school.
Wow.
And because he came from a farming family, and the tradition was that at 14, if you're the boy, you had to stop and you had to work at the family farm. You couldn't finish school anymore. That was it. So my grandmother insisted that my father actually finished high school. He did that, came to America, worked hard, joined the military, became a veteran, and then went to night school at the University of Houston because he couldn't afford to just go to school. He had to work during the day and go to night school. And he graduated. So not only the first high school graduate, but the first college graduate. And think about this in one generation. My mother and father came here with nothing. My father graduated high school, came here. All four of his children in one generation went to college. This is America. This is our American dream. And we did it with the help of many other people.
Right.
Now let's go back to why this is important to me. As land commissioner, if people vote for me, I'm asking for their vote. Here's what I'm going to do that's different, that's never been done before.
Talk to me.
Because education is the future of Texas. Let me just put a little perspective on something. And think if you have a land commissioner who understands this. Right now in Texas, we have about 29 million Texans. Did you know in 2050, not that far away, do you know how many Texans are going to be at current growth rates? 54 million. Texas will be larger than California.
And right now it's at what number?
29 million Texans.
And
roughly.
And it'll almost double.
To 54 million people. So let's say Houston right now, just past Chicago. We're now basically the third largest city in America. Let's call it 5 million people. What if I told you that by 2050, there's a chance that Houston, Texas could have more than 10 to 12 million people and be a city with a population that's larger than New York City? That's a whole.
I can believe it.
One. And so what you need.
The border's right there.
Yeah.
I can believe
it's here. I mean, Houston already is a massive. I mean, it takes forever just to drive across Houston.
It does.
It takes 10 hours just to get from here to West Texas, going into New Mexico.
There you go.
Almost 11 hours.
There you go. There you go. So what if you had a land commissioner that understood that? But here's the important thing for education, to your point. Right now, Texas ranks in reading skills. Of all the 50 states, guess where you think Texas ranks in terms of quality? 1 being the best state and 50 being the worst state. Where do you think we are?
We're not high. I know that.
When it comes to reading,
Yeah.
Reading skills, basic
That's-
reading skills.
we're probably last in place, last in line.
Well, y'all are great. We're actually in 45th place.
Yeah,
So think about this.
Kind of in the middle.
We are this state that's 29 million. We're going to be over 54 million people. And right now, and it's not because of COVID, it's not because of the kids, it's not because of the teachers, it's not because of the parents, it's because the system is wrong. I've talked to teachers in El Paso, in Houston, in Dallas, in San Antonio, in Harlingen, in Laredo, and they all tell me the same thing. The way we're teaching kids to read now is different than the way I learned to read.
Yes, sir.
And something like 7 out of 10 high school graduates in Texas public schools graduate with like a 6th or 7th grade level reading.
I believe it.
And let me offer this as a thought to you. One of the things a land commissioner can do is make the economy stronger, create new jobs. And one of the things that I believe is in small business. But guess what? If you're going to have a good job, one of the critical things you have to do is read well. So we're graduating kids right now from Texas, not because of COVID, just because the system is not good enough, who can't read well. So how can you get a great job? So let me offer this as a thought to you. If I'm elected Texas Land Commissioner, if I get the nomination and I win, I'm going to promise you this. On day one, I'm going to start a campaign to take Texas from the bottom 5 in reading to the top 5. And how am I going to do that? First of all, I'm going to understand why we're in 45th place, and I think I know why, so it won't take long to do that. But then how do you solve that problem? Well, I have 40 years of business experience in small and large businesses, problem solving, risk management, people management, partnership management. Here's what you do. You get practical, use common sense. You go to the top 3 states in America who do reading really well. And you say, okay, we know why we're failing, but why do they do it well? And you sit down with them and you talk with them and you find out what they do. And you take those ideas that are already working right now, bring them back to Texas. And all of a sudden you start to improve. And what happens? You take reading skills from 45th to 35th, from 35th to 20 and up. And what happens then? People start graduating from Texas public schools as the state grows. And all of a sudden, they have better reading skills, which means employers and small business, guess what? We want to hire more people in Texas because they're better educated. They can read better. So what does that mean? People get better jobs. They get paid more money. What happens to the economy? The economy goes up. Everyone's happy. What does that mean? People have better lives. What does that mean? People are safer, more comfortable. It means you can have a better family life. All because we just did one thing, took reading from 45th place and took it up to 5th place. Now, what if you had a land commissioner who thought that that was not only something he wanted to do, but something he had to do? I'm a man of faith, and my family and my faith have taught me 2 things. Number 1, you have to be responsible for yourself. You've got to take personal responsibility for your life if you're able to do that. The second thing is, you got to take care of your family as much as you can, because that's your blood. This is all you have. This is what God gave you. You got to take care of them. But the third thing is, you have to give back. You have to be a man for others. And if I ask my mother and father, who came here with nothing, what this difference, how did they become successful in Houston, Texas? Because we've lived here our whole lives. Kindness of strangers, Texans, that they didn't know, help them. Give them advice, how to be a Texan, how to be an American, what to do, how to do things. People just were nice and kind to them. That's the kind of Texas we should have.
Exactly.
That's the kind of land commissioner I would be.
Awesome. I love to hear you talk. I love to hear this man talk. I've only known him about, a week, maybe 2 weeks. And I love to hear you talk. I couldn't wait till you sat in front of us. I love the way you just answered that question. You elaborated. You elaborate a lot. And I like that. A lot of people will answer something and just cut it off in about 5 words. Nope. You explained it to the T, how he's going to make things better for our community. Now, I would like to elaborate on something. I'd like to bounce off something you said. You said that the economy would go up. Everything would be better if everyone knew how to read. Now, let me give you an example of something we go through every day here at the radio station. Every day here at the radio station at Real Talk 100 Radio, we post something. Hey, give us a call, email us, text this number, email this email address, etc., etc. We'll post it on social media. And guess what the first question is? Where's it going to be? What's the phone number? All you have to do is read. So I know exactly where you're coming from, and I'm pretty sure I see your crew here laughing. They probably post a lot too. We give all the information on every post: the address, the phone number, the email to contact, who to text, who to ask for, who's your contact, who's your point of contact. What's the number again? Look, listen, this is the guy. So are you telling me that, what's his name? George P. Bush?
George P. Prescott Bush.
He's in office right now. And are you telling us, the panel, and the listening audience, that the current land commissioner doesn't care about our reading skills, our education? He doesn't care about anything that you've listed here tonight?
All I can say is this, that you need to have a person. I bring 40 years of professional problem solving. And I mean, I'm a doer, not a talker. You can say, I'm going to fight for you. I'm going to fight for you. I'm going to do all this stuff for you. But guess what?
If you don't back
Fight
it.
for what? And one of the things I keep hearing all the time is that we're tired of politicians who say they're going to fight for us, say they're going to represent us. But then nothing actually happens, except there's a lot more talking. And then they have lots of meetings. That's not my deal. I want to talk to people. I want to treat everybody with equal respect, because I think that's the fundamental thing, treat everyone with equal respect. But then you learn, but then more importantly, you have to do things. In business, the most successful businesses are the ones that don't shout about it, but you know what? They're the ones that actually get things done every day. Something's moving forward. So what if you had a land commissioner who said, my responsibility is to keep you safe, treat everyone with equal respect, be a man for others, and every day work to make your life better, which means every day I've got to do something positive. But do it. Not just fight for you, not just talk about it. Actually do something physically so you can feel it in your life.
Put actions behind your words.
There you go. There you go.
Gotcha.
It's a fundamental difference. I'm a different type of candidate than you've had before. And that professional experience teaches you that when you have difficult problems like reading, right? Professional experience and knowledge teaches you this. The best solution to a really, really difficult problem is a simple one. The simple one is go to states where reading works. Learn, you don't have to reinvent the wheel. Come and do it here and teach people to read better. And all of a sudden, as you said, Malcolm, you have less questions on this radio station. Everyone has a better job and everyone's life is easier.
Yes, sir.
And it's better and means Texas has a future that's bright when we're 54 million people. Right now, it's not good enough. And I find it personally, I get angry that everybody has spent huge amounts of their hard-earned money on tax dollars. But this regime, because guess where the school system responsibility lies? The governor, lieutenant governor. These are the people who are ultimately responsible. Billions and billions of dollars of your tax money. And what have they done with it? From an education standpoint, Malcolm, to me, the current regime is nothing but a disappointment machine.
The question I have, though, is when we come to the education and talk about reading, when you get into the lower income areas, we get kicked under the rug all the time. Yeah. Our kids get left behind all the time. And that's my big thing right now is they're going to have these funds and they're going to go to the schools that are in the upper neighborhoods or the middle class neighborhoods. And our kids that are in these lower class neighborhoods are going to be the last ones to get served. We want to make sure that our kids get taken care of just like everybody else's kids.
And I agree with you. And that's why if you go to my website, langeforland.com, it says very clearly, and my priorities, treat everyone with equal respect. Doesn't matter where you live, where you're from, or what you do, or who you love. It doesn't matter. Everybody gets treated equal. So everyone gets the same system. Everyone has an equal chance at the American dream, which people are nervous about. Some people still positive, other people are very questionable. It starts with education. My mother was a teacher, and unfortunately she's passed away now. She used to always say to me, Michael, I love teaching. Why? Because I teach the future. If I'm not teaching, then kids don't have a future. Teachers, to me, are essential workers. They're modern day heroes. And I look at what happened since COVID started. And I talk to teachers, again, all over Texas. I make a special, I take special time to talk with them and listen to what they say. And this is what they say to me. Michael, we're exhausted. We're overburdened. It's so challenging to teach online, in person, etc. And what happens? We're exhausted, we're overburdened, and they keep putting more on us. And the quality of education is going down. It's not the kids' fault. It's not the teacher's fault. But at some point in time, we have to realize that teacher burnout is going to become a real big deal. And the public school system, teachers are going to just stop teaching because guess what? With their skills and their knowledge, they can go to other industries and make a lot more money. My mother could have done that, but guess what? She loved helping children get better, make their lives better. It's a part of my blood. It's a part of my DNA. But if, to your point, if you treat everyone with equal respect, no matter what neighborhood it's in, everyone gets the same quality, that's got to be the goal. There is no other option. And failure in education, to me, is not an option. You have to get it right.
As land commissioner, though, when this money has been allocated and given out to the different schools for these programs that we hope you're going to be able to bring to the schools. Are you the one that makes those decisions, or is it a panel that makes those decisions? Do you have to go through someone to make sure all the schools get taken care of?
Well, the education process in Texas is quite complicated. Think about this. Across Texas, there are 1,200 different school districts. In Harris County, there are like 25 different school districts alone. So what we can do is help those people get the right systems in place. But ultimately, you have to give the money and you have to give those systems to the local people to let local people implement them. Because guess what? The closer you are, the better chance you have of being successful. You don't want somebody in Austin telling somebody in Houston how to read. No, you want the money, you want the systems, you want the support, and then let people get on with the job. That's the key.
Because that's a concern, because the money is given to the community or to whoever's supposed to allocate these funds. And a lot of times we know what your intentions are,
Yeah.
but we don't know what their intentions are.
But if you have, here's the thing I think about. When you're fixing something, the first thing you have to do is set boundaries.
Right.
But you also have to regulate those boundaries. So if I was going to be part of something that changed the reading from the bottom 5 of the nation into the top 5, I'm also going to set boundaries, and I'm going to keep an eye on what people are doing. And you know what I've heard? Transparency works wonders. If people aren't doing the right thing, let everyone know about it. Let people like Real 100 know about it. Tell people, and guess what? They realize, oh my gosh, everyone realizes we're not doing the right thing. All of a sudden, there's pressure to do it. So just be transparent. Let people know what's going on. Tell them, and then do something about it.
Hold them accountable.
Right, because even in a crisis situation, wherever it's the worst at, that's where you start at.
That's true.
And you work your way up to everybody else. You start where it's the worst, and you work your way up to where everybody else is doing well.
And talk about let's talk about one other thing the land commissioner does. Did you know that the land commissioner is responsible for all the Texas veterans benefits the state gives?
Okay.
There are over 1.4 million veterans in Texas. These are people who've served. But in addition to that, are you familiar with the term Gold Star family?
Gold Star family, no, sir.
Okay, so it's a very important term. Gold Star family are people who've lost a mother or a father or a sister or a brother in service to their country. If you've lost one of those people, you are a Gold Star family.
Okay.
And there are also benefits that the state of Texas gives you, but no one talks about them. So we have 1.4 million veterans plus Gold Star families, which is about 7% of the population. And because my father was a veteran, my family fought in World War I, World War II. My father was in the service in the Air Force during Korea. I understand sacrifice. And I believe that if you're a veteran, if you're a Gold Star family, that you have sacrificed enough. And it's our turn to help you back. And what the land commissioner is supposed to do is have benefits at the state level, not federal, because remember, this is state level, that work well. Again, when I go around the state and talk to people in Harlingen, El Paso, Houston, Texas, Galveston, wherever I am, I ask veterans, I say, how do you feel about the land commission, what they're doing, the general land office? And guess what the first response always is, almost every time? I didn't even know the state of Texas had benefits for veterans.
And see that's relative. That's relative to more than just that industry. It's relative all the way around. I don't care if you're buying a car. I don't care if you're buying a building. It's relative because they don't want you to know. Why? Why don't they want you to know? Because they only want a certain group of people to know. Now, I'm not saying a different race, but let's go back to reading for a second. They know a lot of us don't like to read. They know a lot of us won't read. So they put it in books. They put it in places that we don't know about. They put it in the fine print, like you're saying, and it's right there under our nose the whole time, but we won't read it to find out about those benefits that you're talking about. Go ahead.
No, and you're spot on. So, and then on top of that, the benefits, I mean, by the way, the loan capital right now, just to give you, is about $2.6 billion for Texas veterans. And loans can be up to $600 million a year. So we're not talking small change here. And the requested budget for the Texas Land Commissioner for 2022 is, guess how much? $3.4 billion with a B, $1 billion. And you have a staff of 800 people. And so it's not a job where it's like, I can use a Texas phrase, you don't want to put someone in the job, it's their first rodeo, because this is a very complex job. Let's go back to veterans for a second. So what you look at, and you realize, okay, veterans aren't even aware, but then the ones that are aware, this is what they tell me. When they deal with a general land office, or most of the time they outsource this to other people, the products are not competitive. The products are difficult to understand. They're difficult to access. It's just really, really hard. It's frustrating. So when you try it doesn't work very well. You end up going to non-conventional sources to work. That is not honoring veterans who've sacrificed enough. If I'm land commissioner, I have a very different kind of plan. That plan is called Texas Has Your Six. You know in the military what six means?
No.
It means like Texas has your back.
Okay.
So to a veteran, if you say Texas has your six, Texas has your back.
Texas has your six.
That's right.
Okay.
And think about this. If you're serving right now, our nation, you're protecting us. You're keeping us freedom. We can sit here today and talk like this because the enemies know you're there. So they're not going to mess with us. You're doing something really important to help our lives every day, especially if you've done it already. Well, what if you had a land commissioner who was as dedicated to you as a veteran than veterans are to serving this country?
That'd be awesome.
So you have a Texas has your six. This is my plan. Number one, let's make it transparent. Let's tell people what's available. Number two, let's make it competitive. Number three, let's do something called marketing. And I come from a huge marketing background. Let's tell an effective way what's going on so people know. Then you make it easy to access and easy to understand. So it's available to everyone. So guess what, Malcolm?
Talk to
It's
me.
not in the fine print. It's out there. So it's like, oh, when every Texas veteran says, I understand what's available, I get it, and it's easy to access,
It's easy.
fantastic.
I was just about to say that. It's easily accessible.
That's right. And do we owe this to the families who are Gold Star?
Yes.
Veterans? If you truly believe like I do, and you want to be a man for others, treat everyone with respect, this is how you treat people. You take care of the people who take care of us because they have sacrificed enough. And this is a huge part of the Texas Land Commissioner's job that's, in my opinion, not being done very well right now, which is another reason why I'm running for this job.
Amazing. I love it, man. I love it. Everybody's treated equally.
That's right.
Everybody's treated with respect. Everybody's treated. I'm going to say this one more time. Everybody's treated with respect and everybody's treated equally. This sounds like something that should have been happening a long time ago, like 50, 60 years ago. And now we're still talking about it with Mr. Michael Lange. He wants to be our land commissioner. And I like that. I like the way he talks. He wants to make everybody equal. He wants to treat everybody with respect. He doesn't care what color you are. He doesn't care what sex you are, what not sex you are, what gender you are. He doesn't care. He doesn't care what your sexual preference is. He doesn't care about any of that. He just wants to treat everybody with respect. If we treat everybody with respect, we have a much better world. We'll have more love involved.
There you go.
There you go. Anything, I want you to repeat one thing for me. You said the land commissioner's job is any catastrophe dealing with airplanes, the ocean, if a ship sinks, if an airplane crashes. You were eloquent with it. You know exactly what you're talking about. Repeat that for me right quick for our listening audience.
Okay, so think about the Texas coastline.
Yes, sir.
1,284 miles.
Yes,
West
sir.
Orange in the north, down to Brownsville in the south. That entire coastal bend, that entire area is responsible for the Texas Land Commissioner up to 10.35 miles out into the Gulf. So it's not just the beaches and that surrounding area, it's out into the water as well. Now here's a critical thing. We talked already about how the Land Commissioner could have done a job for Hurricane Harvey. But let's talk about something else for a second.
Okay.
Something that we in Houston and Harris County, anyone along the coast really has to appreciate. Hurricanes, right?
Yes, sir.
Right.
In the last 20 years, the good news is that preparation for hurricanes, either coming, it's improved a great deal. It's really much better than it used to be. But there's one significant fail. There's something we're doing awful, in my opinion, not good enough, which is the response of the Texas Land Commissioner. Guess what that is?
Talk to me.
So once the newspaper reporters and everyone's at the event goes by, it's over. So the TV reporters have left, everyone's left. Guess what's left standing? The people in trouble.
The people in trouble.
The people in trouble. They're
Yes,
still
sir.
there. They haven't gone away. Hurricane recovery can take months and years before it's resolved. Especially if you imagine if you've lost your home, if you lost your school, if you lost your business. What we don't really have right now is a great plan or a good plan to deal with recovery after the fact. But guess who's responsible for hurricane recovery after the TV cameras have left? The Texas Land Commissioner. And here's one interesting thought for you. Have you ever heard of a Texas Land Commissioner saying to the world, hey, look, part of our plan is going to be what happens after the event's over, months, years later, to make sure that people who are hurt are actually still being taken care of. And here's another interesting little fact for you. What if you had a land commissioner that knew that domestic violence against women and children after a natural disaster like a hurricane goes up 40%?
Stop it. Stop it. Wow.
Domestic violence after a hurricane against women and children goes up 40%.
That's an interesting fact. We have a fashion show coming up very, very soon, and I'd love to have you come and speak on that. We have advocates and champions for domestic violence all around us, and we'd love to come have you speak.
I would love to. And there's a wonderful organization called HAWK, the Houston Area Women's Center, who really focuses on all this stuff. They're wonderful people. But think about this. What if you had a land commissioner that understood that and would deal with it? So part of the planning for after the event occurs, when all these things start to go wrong, is that you have preparation for hotlines, places to go, people to call. So when these things happen, it's not like you don't know what to do. It's already there in place, ready to go. Because guess what? Domestic violence is something we cannot tolerate. It's just not okay. So as land commissioner, you see how every day, if you really want to do this job well, you can keep people safer and make their lives better. But you have to have the desire. In the Rio Grande Valley, in South Texas, when I've been there, I've learned a couple of phrases, which I love. And if I may say, they're in Spanish. It's like, las ganas, las ganas, las ganas. If you want to be successful, you have to have las ganas. You know what the las ganas is? It means the desire. You have to have the desire. And it's not the word, it's the feeling. And the other one is las agallas, las agallas, las agallas, the guts. Las ganas, las agallas. To be successful, you have to have the desire and the guts. And it's in the feeling of the words, not just what you say. I have las ganas. I have the desire. I have las agallas. I've got the guts to make sure that the people of Texas are served well. You know why? I'll be very personal. As a son of immigrants, we had to learn how to be Americans. We weren't automatically Americans. We had to figure it out. It means so much more to me. And people often say the first generation are often the most patriotic, and I absolutely am. My blood, my brain, my body, my bones, they're American. Texas is my home, and that's deep in the heart. I serve two flags, the American flag and the Texas flag, the flag of my country and the flag of my home. For 40 years, I've been involved in politics. I've never run for office before because I'm angry. I'm very sad to see where my Texas is going. Quality of life, the safety of people, the hatred, it's not right. Mm-hmm. And so my son said to me, they call me Paul. They said, Paul, you've been working for 40 years to help make Texas and America a better place, but you've never run for office. Why don't you give people a chance to vote for you? At least show them you're a different candidate. You're not just a fighter or you're a talker. You're actually going to do something. You actually understand that part of being successful is doing something. Like you said, Malcolm, you got to do it. You got to show people that if they're voting for you, you're actually achieving something that makes their lives better. So I'm offering a different type of candidate we've seen before. And think about this. There has been no Democratic victory at state level in Texas for 28 years. If we lose every race again in November, that'll be 32 years. You know what that means? A generation's roughly 17 years, right?
Yes, sir.
That means for 2 generations of Texans, they will have never seen a Democrat actually run a state office. And here's an interesting fact, too. Did you know right now, by gross domestic product, if Texas was a separate country, we'd be the 9th largest country in the world? Did you know that?
I've heard something similar to that.
The 9th largest. Guess what? We just passed Brazil. Brazil has 175 million people. We're 29, but we just passed Brazil. That's how strong our people work. That's how hard we are. We're catching up on Italy. There's a good chance in 2 years we become the 8th largest country in the world. So when you think about electing people to run the state, you have to think about people who have the skill sets and the abilities to handle the 9th largest country in the world. Hundreds of billions of dollars of budget. And if we grow from 29 to 54 million people, think it's going to get easier?
No.
So you have to build a strong base now, a good jobs, better small businesses, a great, public school education system. Otherwise, we're going to have a real problem going forward, and that's going to be our fault. My parents' generation built America after World War II. It's my generation now building this, and we have to get ready for my son's generation and my grandson's thing, please.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
And we have to do it. We can't just talk about it.
Okay, as our next land commissioner, we're going to speak that into existence. What is the first thing that you want to do? When you get in office, what is your number one priority?
Okay. There's not one, there's three.
There's three. Okay, let's
The
listen
first
to
one
three
is,
of them.
as I said to you before, I'm going to start immediately finding a way to take Texas reading from the bottom 5 in this country to the top 5 in this country. On the same day, I'm going to start Texas Has Your 6. Texas Has Your Back. So the veterans who sacrificed enough will get the benefits they did. We should have the gold standard in Texas. We should be the place in America. People say, well, where's the best place to live if you're a veteran? Texas.
Okay.
That's what it should be. And when you're in California, New York, or Florida, hey, where's the best place to be a veteran? Texas. They got the best thing. That's the plan. And the last thing is to make sure everyone's treated equally. And you treat fairly with equal respect. It's really, really important. You got to get these after-event hurricane plans in place as well.
Right.
So there's a lot of things to do, but you have to do them. And you have to be able to have the skill set to manage several things at one time. And again, it's not talking, it's doing. It's making it happen. And that's a very different skill set than talking. And that's what I bring that's different to the table. 40 years of doing that successfully.
So does the commissioner does he has a responsibility, like while we're going through this COVID? Is that part of his responsibility too?
There is, and I'll tell you why. Because in addition to taking care of 1.4 million veterans, you also looked after 4 state veteran cemeteries. Do you know there's cemeteries only if you're a veteran, you don't have money, you want to get buried? The state of Texas will bury you for free,
Yes.
and your spouse. So, but in addition to that, the Land Commission looks after 9 veterans residential homes, and there's soon going to be 10. Did you know that under George P. Bush, the COVID rates in these 9 homes were double the national average? Because while he outsourced people who didn't care. To be a successful politician, I think in the 21st century, the first thing you have to think about is human need. How can you sit there as a land commissioner and knowing that the COVID rates of veterans in the homes you're responsible for are double and do nothing about it and don't even talk about it? I would have been in the car right there and find out what the heck's going on here. And I would have sorted out right away. It's about desire and guts, like we said before.
Do you think that has a lot to do with lack of the information that's available for veterans and the funds that are available?
I don't know why this current land commission, the general land office, is so opaque. There's nothing transparent. Even if you go on their website, you have to work really hard to find things.
Yeah.
I don't know why that is, but it's been that way for a while. But you have to change that. You have to modernize this business, which is a business. It's the general land office. To be successful in the 21st century, you can't look back to the past. It's too complicated. Like, for example, another thing the land commission is responsible for is the Alamo Complex.
Right.
And right now, it's going through a huge renovation process, which the land commissioner also made a mess of. But you know how much that project is?
I think I read 1.6 it was 1.6 billion.
Well, it's during non-COVID times, the Alamo Complex has about 1.6 million visitors.
Okay.
So think about that, 1.6 million people.
Right.
Think about the economy of San Antonio and how that lifts and creates jobs. It's incredible. But the renovation project could cost up to $450 million.
Okay.
But like anything in state government, you have to understand, it's not like you have this light switch. There's partnerships. So with the Alamo Complex, it's the land commissioner, it's the Texas State Historical Association, it's the Alamo Trust, it's the city of San Antonio, and other people. You're all partners, and you have to work together and make that happen.
There's levels to it, isn't it?
Always.
In everything.
Right.
Yeah.
And when I say to you, manage partnership, manage partner skills, if you've done it already for 40 years, you get it. And you have to understand that's success. It's not just getting up there and yelling, I'm going to fight for you. It's much more than that. You have to have a skill set. Ninth largest country, $3.4 billion budget, plus everything else. It's a very complex job. I understand why a lot of people in Texas don't understand it, because it's hard to understand. Think about this, how much we've already talked about. And there's actually a lot more than this.
Right. It is a lot.
We have someone on our live feed. Miss Ashley Johnson she's works very closely with one of our guests here, Mac of Watch Cloud. She's very active on our live feed, and I was so busy trying to make sure everything else was working right. I didn't see her commenting, but she's been commenting the whole time. She loves the way you're speaking. She says he's doing so great. Vote for Lange for land. She's with Just Be You magazine. She says, awesome, awesome. Exactly. I can't remember what. Ashley, I tell you what, I didn't know you were here. So if you don't mind calling in, if you're still on our live feed listening, call in right now at 832-539-3838. That's 832-539-3838. And I probably just stuck my foot in my mouth because we just got this phone system, but I'm going to do my best to answer it. I probably did stick my foot in my mouth. So I'll probably just get her to call.
He got it.
But I got one more thing for you that I think is really important.
Okay.
And this would be also one of my priorities.
Okay.
The land commissioner, because you have so much land, 13 million football fields,
Right.
there's something else you can do. I'm a great believer in environmental safety. I understand our climate's changing, and you have to be aware of that. So what can the land commissioner do, again, to make people's lives safer? Well, first thing you do is that for those 13 million lands, there's a lot of energy production, right? What if you just made sure, as land commissioner, that all the regulations from a federal and state standpoint for environmental safety are actually being adhered to? Now, I've been all over Texas. There's nowhere in Texas I haven't been to. I love Texas. I understand Texas. It's multicultural, it's diverse. And we've talked about it's changing rapidly. If you've never been to the oil fields, the Permian Basin, the Eagle Ford Shale, if you've never seen them, it's a phenomenal thing just to look at. But here's what you learn when you actually physically go things. And my father taught me something I've never forgotten when I was 18 years old. He said, Michael, you get what you inspect and not what you expect. So if you want to understand, get off your backside, get in your car, and go have a look. So that's what I did. And what you realize in these lands is there are good actors, there are bad actors, and there are mediocre actors. But if all you did was hold everybody accountable to the existing federal standards, the existing state standards, automatically overnight, you'd have cleaner air and better water. And that would improve everyone's lives and make them safer. So that's another priority I would have, to make sure the environment we Texans live in is as safe as possible. And then you go from there. But you have to do it, not just talk about it. And you don't want to have these things where you're talking for 2 years and nothing happens and people make the same complaint. Politicians are talking, but no one's doing. I'm a doer, not a talker.
So you're like Nike, huh?
Just do it.
I wish I was fast. I was not as fast as Nike. But yeah, I used to be, not anymore. I used to play football and not baseball, not so much anymore. So
Not so much. What position did you play, sir?
I was a lineman and a first baseman.
Lineman and first base. I wish I wouldn't have ever quit baseball. That was actually my best sport.
Wow.
Football was my favorite. Track was my second favorite. But baseball, I was the best at. Ain't that something?
That's amazing.
Let me tell you a short story about that, since I'm a sports fanatic, so please forgive me. I went from, T-ball all the way through the ninth grade, all the way through the eighth grade, middle school. I went all the way through as an all-star, all the way through. When I got to eighth grade, the coaches were already coming over from the high school wanting me on the team. And as a kid, in retrospect, and now that I look back, I'm ashamed. But I have to tell the truth. As a kid, being an all-star your whole life, you get a little selfish. I looked over there, and it's a brand new high school. Shout out to Klein Oak High School, where I graduated from. Brand new high school, so the team sucked. I mean, it was terrible. And I'm used to being around all-stars, so I declined playing, and that probably ended my baseball career right there. So that's just a short story, short backstory. They probably needed me to be better. I played everything. I was outfield. I did everything but pitch.
Wow.
Everything but pitch.
You were a natural.
Yes, sir.
You were a natural.
Yes, sir.
It's amazing.
I was around
Yes.
sports. I did basketball, track, and softball.
There you go.
I'm envious of you. Know why?
Tell me.
I was a big guy. I was quick but not fast. But I had to learn everything.
Yes, sir.
I mean, I didn't have any natural talent. I literally had to learn everything. I just had brute force. It's like when my father says that you come at everything working hard, but you don't have any finesse. So the whole finesse stuff came natural to y'all.
Yeah.
I had to learn it all.
You had to learn it.
I was okay. I was never a quality of athlete y'all two were. I did throw the discus in track in my junior year. I did win the one tournament I did enter. So, but I was never a natural. I had to always in my life. I've had to work hard for everything. I've never been lucky, but I've been lucky because I had wonderful parents. I had a great family. I grew up in Texas. I love the country, rural Texas, as well as the city. So I am very lucky, but I had to work for everything. As my dad said, there used to be an old commercial many years ago, last century. He said, our family, we made it the old fashioned way. We earned it.
Earned it. Earned it.
Earned it.
Doesn't come any better. I hear my dad still ringing in my head now. You know, nothing in life is easy and nothing comes for free. Nothing comes for free.
I have 5 boys, and
Oh, wow.
I tell every time they ask me for a dime, what you gonna do for me? You gotta work for it. Show me what you're gonna do to earn this.
Wow. Congratulations on 5 sons. Wow. Wow.
Mr. Lange, I'd like to touch on something that's a very sensitive issue in our community. And that is this thing where you have the Democrats on one side, you have the Republicans on the other, you have the conservatives, you have the liberals, you have this and you have that. To me, I'm American. I don't care if you're Democrat. I don't care if you're Republican. All I care about is if you do good for us. You know, you look out for the people. That's all I care. So tell me how, as a Democrat, how do you win over some that might be Republican? Is there any way to do that? I have several friends that are Republican, and they are just like, "Oh, he's a Democrat. I'm not even listening tonight." And I'm like, "Dude, come on now, give him a chance."
I think it's a great question, and here's my opinion on that. And I go back to my priorities if I'm elected land commissioner.
Yes, sir. Treat everybody equal and with respect.
The first thing is make everyone's life safer.
Okay.
I don't care what your political beliefs. I don't care if you have no political beliefs.
Okay.
Everyone's life safer. And then I go back to what you just said, Malcolm. If you treat everyone with equal respect,
Yes, sir.
it changes things. But here's the critical thing too. I think it's important. And I think we go back and we said we had to earn it.
Mm-hmm.
If you're a Democrat and you show people that you're actually making their lives better, like for example, one of the things is I believe in small business. I would be a small business champion. There's something most people don't know about. There's something called HUBs, HUBS. It's called historically underutilized businesses. These are businesses in Texas, small businesses owned by women and minorities. Do you know the Texas Land Commissioner has a budget just to give extra money to businesses, small businesses that are owned and operated by women and minorities?
I need to talk to him after that.
If I get elected.
Yes,
right?
indeed.
And so, but here's the other thing too.
Look, all my people, y'all better elect him.
Yes, indeed.
And I come from the world of small business and big business. And let me share a thought with you. It's just an opinion. When I talk to business leaders, let's give an example. Let's say you have a company that has $5 billion a year in revenue. Okay, pretty big company, right?
It's my company, or
Of course it is, absolutely, right?
And we are so good.
Let me finish the story before you say that, all right? So let's say you got $5 billion a year, and let's say you have 10,000 employees. Right?
Okay.
So you ask Malcolm, the chief executive, hey, look, Malcolm, in 10 years' time, where's your company going to be? Well, we're going to be at 10 billion. We're going to double our revenue, right?
Mhm.
But here's the reality of today. You currently have 5 billion of revenue and 10,000 employees. When you become 10 billion, how many employees you could think you're going to have?
At least 20,000.
3,000.
3.
Yeah. Because right now, large businesses are doing a couple of things. It's just my opinion, okay? From what I've seen, they're investing tens of billions of dollars in artificial intelligence software.
Oh, yes.
So guess what? The most expensive thing, the most volatile thing in any business is people. If you can take your business from 5 billion to 10 billion and your staff from 10,000 to 3,000, are you going to do that? Because guess what? Computers, artificial intelligence, they don't take vacation.
They don't get sick.
They don't
Well, they get viruses.
Yeah, yeah.
They get a little sick.
I do. But so if you ask today, any company, is it their goal to double their revenue and double their staff? I think that's an interesting question to ask. So here's what I reckon, and here's what I would do as land commissioner. I would be a champion for small business. Do you know how many small businesses are in Texas right now? About 3 million. 167,000 roughly owned by veterans, right?
Mm-hmm.
And roughly about 45% of the people in Texas work for small businesses. When I went to University of Texas, I have a degree in finance. If you, in our senior year, our last day of class, the head of the finance department comes and says, okay, this is the 1980s, okay? And they said, okay, Malcolm, since you're the business owner, who wants to be the chief executive of IBM? Everyone raises their hand. Who wants to be the chief executive of General Motors? Everyone raises their hand. Who wants to be a partner at Goldman Sachs? Everyone raises their hand, okay? Because big business, that's the way it was. You ask my sons in their 20s, right? Do they want to be the chief executive of IBM? Absolutely not. No way. Do they want to be the chief executive of General Motors? No way. Do they want to work for a small business, i.e. less than 500 employees, where they have a quality of life, that they're doing things that they appreciate and like, and they feel like they're not just a number? Absolutely. And my son, and I have lots of nieces, I come from a big, big old Texas family, all right? I got lots of nieces, and I listen to them. They teach me stuff all the time, and I'm grateful that I have that sounding board to listen and learn from. I reckon real future, when we go from 29 to 54 million people, the backbone is going to be small businesses. And if we can create more small businesses, that means more people are going to find work and less people put out of work because of artificial intelligence and things like this.
Okay.
Now, it's a little bit of a reach, but think about this. If in 2050, when we're 54 million people roughly, if 70% of the people in Texas work in small business, and you know what I find out from people who work in small businesses? Very few of them aren't happy. They actually quite like it. They actually like working in a business where they actually know most of the people by name. It's not something that upsets them, right?
Because that's what it is.
Yeah. Will Texas, here's the real question. If 70% of the businesses in Texas are small businesses, will this be a better quality of life? Will people feel safer about their jobs? Will they feel safer about the future? I believe so. If you're working for a big company right now and you've got 30 years to go or whatever, and they're spending a lot of money on new software, new artificial intelligence, do you honestly think that those people are going to continue to hire as many people going forward? No way. That's a mistake. I mean, not every industry, but no way. No way. It's not going to happen. So we have to create jobs. The land commissioner's job is to keep the economy moving, to create new jobs, the best new jobs in the future, people who can read well, right? But also can work in small businesses where there's things. And you know what, a huge area that no one talks about?
Talk to me.
Big in Texas, agriculture. Agriculture, because I grew up in rural Texas, I appreciate and value the people who put the food on my table. Somebody works hard to make sure every day we can go to the store and buy food. Those are people who work in rural Texas. And they work hard, and guess what? They love what they do. They love being on the land.
There's a lot of machines that's taking that over too, though.
And this is kind of a long-winded answer to your question. Treat people with respect. Let people in rural Texas know, these Republicans that you mentioned earlier, a Democrat's actually doing something that helps people. You actually care about rural Texans. You actually value us. You think because we put the food on your table, we're important people, and we're essential workers like teachers and nurses and doctors and policemen and firemen. Yeah, you are. So on my website, it says, hey, small business, the first thing is agriculture, because if we can't eat, think about the food pressure of 29 million people. Think about the food pressure of 54 million people. We just assume automatically everything happens because the rural people do it so well. You have to respect them. And to go back to your question, to your Republican friends, there are some people who will never be, that's okay. And you know what? There's some Democrats who don't like what I say, but that's okay because the Democratic Party is a big tent of lots of different people. But I'm one of those Democrats that believes that if you help, a rising tide lifts all ships. If you treat everyone with respect, if you think about their job safety, their security, give them a better life, and you deliver on that,
yes, sir,
then a Republican might vote for you.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. None of that makes any sense to me. I mean, I get online and I'm just like, shut up, libtard, shut up there. And I'm like, Have you even listened? Like some of them are probably listening to us right now because they're my friends and they're, calling you all kinds of names. And I'm like, have you even listened to the guy? Have you even they
It makes a
tune
lot of sense.
they tune people out and don't even give you a chance.
But we need
And that's what
somebody
I
that's gonna
don't
look out for the little people, because that's what our small businesses are. These big businesses are taking over, and if we have too many big businesses, a lot of the
Right.
small businesses are gonna lose out. A lot of people are gonna lose jobs.
right.
And I prefer small business. That's me.
I prefer that.
I'm family oriented, so any of my businesses are always family. Everything I do, I make sure it's because if something when I leave this world, I want to make sure that my kids and my grandkids and my great grandkids,
There you
so
go.
on and so on, can profit and work in this business. So
Right.
that I'm doing this for family.
I-
Family first every time.
In generational curses.
Yeah. And what if you had a land commissioner who had your six, who had your back and said,
Yeah.
you're my people. You're the kind of person I want to help. I want to make sure that you and your future generations are safe in Texas. And Texas is a great place to live. I don't want us to become a 54 million place and all of a sudden the quality of life goes down. That's not the point. Because what's the other really big potential challenge for us? Food. But you know what the real big issue is? Water, sweet water. There are parts of Texas that have been in, water difficulties for years. And other parts have plenty of water. But think about the pressure on our infrastructure system. 29 million people, 54 million people. Where is all that water going to come from?
Right.
We just assume that the aquifers and other places we get water from are just going to just keep pouring
They're
it
gonna
out.
double up.
And there's a lot of work being done,
Yeah.
right? Don't get me wrong. There's a lot of work being done. It's not like there's no one talking about it. There is a lot of work being done. But I'll go back to what I said before. It's one thing to talk about something. It's another thing to do it. It's like rural broadband. What COVID taught us is that when people can't go in school and learn, you got to go online and work at home. Well, if you're in the country, if you're a rural person, and on a good day, your cell phone kind of works in certain parts of the ranch or certain parts of the farm, or it's intermittent, we know this is an issue. There's a lot of people working on this issue. There's a lot of money being spent. There's a lot of studies being done, but guess what? Where is it happening? What's going on? And I think of Lyndon Baines Johnson. And why do I think of Lyndon Baines Johnson? The most successful Texas Democrat of all time. In the 1930s, this is kind of an interesting little story for you about government and relate to that. In the 1930s, did you know that rural Texas had no electricity?
I can believe it.
Whatsoever.
I can believe that.
So he said, look, this is how one person changed Texas, Central Texas. He went and forced Franklin Roosevelt to build dams on the Colorado River. Okay? Build your dams, it's okay. Those dams, because of Lyndon Baines Johnson,
Generated power.
generate power. And who today knows, here we are in the 21st century, that the reason all of Central Texas around the Colorado River has electricity is because of one Texan named Lyndon Baines Johnson who absolutely had the guts and desire to make things happen. Who remembers that? I do, because I'm a member of the LBJ Foundation, but there's one human being who thought first about other human beings and put their needs first. He was a man for others. He was an imperfect man, but boy, the same energy that he passed voting rights, Medicare, all these things today to the bedrock of America. Who did all this? Who did it? Not talked about it, did it. Lyndon Baines Johnson, a Texas Democrat. Civil rights, voting rights, Medicare, the first Clean Air Acts. Lyndon Baines Johnson, a doer, not just a talker. That's what I want to be. I want to be a Democrat. So your Republican friends say, I don't like his politics, but I sure like the way he governs.
There you go. There you go. You got to like something about this guy. You have to like something about Michael Lange. Michael Lange for commissioner. Michael Lange for land commissioner. He is trying to unseat George P. Bush.
Well, he's actually, if I may, George P. Bush is actually running for attorney general.
Okay.
Against Ken Paxton on the Republican side.
Okay.
So there's no incumbent, so it's an open seat.
Oh, it's an open seat.
That's right.
Okay. Open
Is there
seat.
someone else running beside you?
There are 4 people on the Democratic side and 8 people on the Republican side. It's a real party.
Wow.
And we're all different. We're all good people. We're all just very different. It depends on, the primary starts, the voting starts on February 14th and it finishes on March 1st. And Lyndon Baines Johnson always used to say, the primary, your job is to pick the person that has the best chance of winning in November. Otherwise, you're wasting your time, because if you give them someone who doesn't have the best chance, the other side has a much better chance of winning. So the primary is about choosing the person that has the best chance of winning in November. I'm a different candidate. For 28 years, there's something called political insanity. The Democratic Party has done the same thing for 28 years. And guess what we've done for 28 years? We've lost every race. So we're good at primary. We get to November and we lose. I'm giving people a different type of candidate to work for. Someone who's going to do something different. I'm not just going to fight for you and say all this. I'm actually going to do it. And here's the most important thing. It's not my first rodeo. I've done this before. You've heard me talk tonight about the plans. It's not just talk, it's real, and it's common sense. The greatest solutions to complex problems are simple.
Simple. Keep it simple, not complex. Keep it simple, not complex. Before I get to my next question, Mr. Lange, I want you to rehash to our listening audience what's important to you. You've said it, the teachers, the veterans, and I can't remember what else you said. Those two stick out in my head. Treating people equally. Just a short rehash. Tell our listening audience what's important to you so they'll know who to vote for.
Focus first on the safety of all Texans. Secondly, treat every person with equal respect. Then be a man for others and work every day to improve their lives. The land commissioner's job is about kids. It's about teachers. It's about parents. It's about veterans. It's about people along the Gulf Coast, protecting them and keeping the air clean safely. These are the fundamental things that the land commissioner should be doing, and doing it very well. Because again, this is a job that if you do it well, every single day you can improve people's lives. And that's what I love about it. It's not like you have to take a vote. No, by what you do on Monday, you make a decision, and if you implement it correctly, people feel it right away. And that's exciting and that's fun. So I'm running for this job because that's what I do well. I'm a problem solver and I can fix things.
Awesome. Love the way you speak, sir. Love the way you speak. My next question is about, I've been stalking your page a little bit, and it's about this Democratic candidate tour that's coming up on January 29th.
Right.
Let's talk about that. Let's tell our listening audience how they can get involved.
Well, it's sponsored by the Hill County Democratic Party, and it goes to something I care about. Because I spent a large part of my life in Houston, but also a large part growing up in rural Texas. This tour on that Saturday is about connecting with rural Texans, because letting them know that, you know what, rural Texans' lives matter.
That's what January 29th is about?
Correct.
Okay, connecting with rural Texans.
That's correct.
Got you. Go ahead.
And basically, in rural Texas, gosh, after the election's over, everyone forgets about us. They talk about us, everyone forgets about us. I'm not that way. I'm the one who's going to say, look, let's go out and see people. So myself and other Democratic candidates, we're going out there to show people that they matter to us. Because the county I grew up in, where the ranch is, when I was growing up, it was Democratic. And after Reagan, it went Republican. And I've seen the differences and the changes. But people want to respect you. You have to respect them first. But you have to show them. If you physically go there, listen to them, understand what their needs are, and then try to help them, that means they matter. And that's what we're going to go do on next Saturday. Let them know they matter, but more importantly, listen to what they have to say and answer their questions. And they all say the same thing. Don't forget us in rural Texas. We just put the food on your table. Respect us. Treat us with the same dignity they treat everyone else. And give us broadband. Because what's the other big issue in rural Texas? Other than rural broadband and quality schools? Healthcare. You're a long way away from the nearest hospital, even a doctor. There are places in Texas where you have to struggle to get a doctor or a nurse. During COVID, hey, I need to get a shot. Oh, the nearest one is 80 miles away. Guess what? That's very difficult than being in Houston, going a couple miles, and everywhere you go, there's a hospital.
Right.
Everywhere.
Like a hospital or
Right.
a CVS or Walgreens.
Right. So if you give people small business, more jobs in rural Texas, rural broadband, easier to do things. Small businesses create more jobs, more opportunities, but also you have to make sure that there's healthcare that works and accessible. And there's all kinds of modern techniques that are going to make it better. But I go back to what I always say. It's one thing to say it. It's something else to actually get it done. And you need people who want to get things done. There's a great song by Elvis Presley. I'm kind of like Elvis Presley, but he has this great song that kind of found after he died. It was called, Sometimes You Need a Little Less Conversation and a Lot More Action.
That's simple. Simple. That's in everything you do. Yeah, stop talking about it and be about it. Be about it. Make things happen instead of sitting around talking about it all the time. That's what Mr. Lang is all about. Michael Lang for Land Commissioner. We want you to go and follow his page on Facebook. It's called Michael Lang for Texas Land Commissioner. What is your Instagram and where else can they find you on social media,
Well,
sir?
again, the best thing is go to the website, Lange, Langefor land, langforland.com.
Langforland.com.
Lange for Langefor land.com. That's the best place to go. The Twitter is at Lang for Land all together, and then Lang for Land for Instagram and Lang for Land for Facebook. But if you go to the langforland.com website, that's going to give you, it's going to tell you more about what we talked about. It's going to reemphasize this, and you'll see. I put in writing what I'm talking about.
It's
You'll
broken
see
down
it
into
right
an
there.
itinerary, so it's easy to read.
That's right.
Broken down into an itinerary. I like the way you put that lyric. Love the way you put it. So, in a nutshell, listening audience, Mr. Michael Land is here in our studio. He's I keep wanting to say he's trying to unseat Mr. Bush, but Mr. Bush is running for another office. And so that therefore the land commissioner position has now become available. And Mr. Lang here is wanting to fill that position. Who are you running against, sir?
There are three people in the Democratic primary. There's a candidate named Jenny Sue, a candidate named Sandra Grace Martinez, and another named Jay Clapper.
Okay. All right.
And voting starts when?
The early voting, well, there's mail ballot. Early voting in person starts February 14th,
Okay.
and that goes till February 25th. And then the actual primary election day is March 1st, all from 7
doing
a.m.
early
to 7
voting.
p.m.
I'm going early.
You going early?
Yes.
It should be a landslide from what I've heard here tonight. I'm a pretty fair guy, and I'll probably listen to everybody. But I'm sold. I'm sold already, and our panel, our entire panel here at Real Talk 100 Radio wants you to be sold too. If you're not sold, go to his website, like you said, at langforland.com. Langforland.com.
And share it, post it, tag them, whatever you have to do. We have Facebook, we have TikTok, we have Instagram. Share this with somebody so everybody has a chance to know who this man is, so that we make sure and get somebody in here that's for the people. We need somebody that's for us.
Somebody's for us. And he spent most of the past hour and a half almost talking about the little people, not the Fortune 5.
Got a lot of small businesses out there.
A lot of
There needs to be more.
Needs to be more.
Yeah.
Hey,
I pushed last year. I set up and actually got on my live, and that's what I said, if you don't try, you'll never know. If you have something in mind, it doesn't matter what it is. If you fail, it's okay. But let's say you do it and it does great.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying? But you can't never say you didn't try.
Never can't say you didn't try if you get out there and you bust your butt to get it done. Not just talk about it, but to actually make something happen for your small business. So Mr. Lang has spent the majority of the last hour and a half talking about us little people, the little people trying to make it, not the Fortune 500 companies, the little people that are trying to make it, those out in rural Texas that are out there growing our agriculture. If without them, we won't eat those pretty heads of lettuce and the tomatoes and the strawberries, and we won't eat anything, nothing. If it weren't for our rural Texans. He's all about supporting them. Secondly, he's all about supporting our teachers who are overwhelmed, underpaid, and stressed. He's for them. He's for the little people. Thirdly, he's all about the veterans. Our veterans, there's a lot of different programs out there for everyone I just mentioned. But guess what? Our government's not very transparent. And he wants to be transparent. He wants you to know everything that's out there to benefit you, the little person, the little business owner, the family man that goes out and works hard every day, the farmer who's out there in rural Texas growing our agriculture. He's for you. I'm for you too, Mr. Lang. You got me sounding like a politician up here, man. I like you, man.
We're gonna be fair,
I like
too,
you,
because
man.
we don't want to just say the little bit, because he's
Right.
for everybody.
Everybody.
He's for everyone. Everyone can benefit from this.
And I ran this campaign to be a different type of candidate, not a talker, but a doer. And if people will give me their vote, just give me a chance. Let someone who loves Texas, who loves America, who loves Houston, who loves rural, who loves the city, who believes that part of being successful in life is being a man for others.
Being a man
Believes
for
in
others.
safety of the people of Texas. And the best way to create safety is clean air, clean water, good jobs, and safe streets. And think about this. I'll bet tonight, if the only thing you learn is this, the land commissioner, which you may have never heard of until tonight, has a direct impact, whether you're in Houston or in Texas, on your life every single day, but only if the person doing the job has less ganas and less agallas, the desire and the guts to actually do it. More importantly, the skill set. I'm sitting here saying, if you give me a chance, these are the things that I'm going to bring to make your life safer and your life better.
Awesome, Mr. Lange. Awesome. We love everything you discussed tonight. We've come down towards the end of the interview, and this is the part of the interview that I like the best, because this is where we get a lot of the nitty-gritty that we didn't get during the first hour. Every night I hate to think, because I've heard it in my own phone, my own earphone. I've heard guests call me when they get in their car and they're headed down 59, they're headed down 45, 290, wherever they're going home, and they say, ring, 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 Malcolm, I forgot to talk about this. I forgot to talk about that because we had so much fun. So I hate to hear that. So this is the point in the interview where I ask you, Mr. Lange, is there anything we did not cover tonight that you want our listening audience to know about Michael Lange for Land Commissioner?
I just want to reiterate that I'm a man who believes in families. I'm a man of faith, and I'm a man who believes in keeping people safe. Here's something you don't know. My partner, Beverly, we've been together for a long time. Her nickname for me is, she calls me the Big Lion.
The Big Lion.
The Big Lion. You know why? It's like, you're like a lion. Have you ever seen a lion? During the day, they're quiet and they sleep, but at night they hunt. But here's the thing. These big guys, if you ever go near their pride, their family, their cubs, they're going to come for you. Mm-hmm. I'm a very protective person. I believe in keeping people safe. I do not tolerate bullies. When I see anybody being bullied, anybody, guess what? Doesn't work for me. So also know this.
Pick on somebody your own size, huh?
I'll pick on anybody who's a bully. I don't care who they are.
There you go.
I do not tolerate anyone hurting people because they think it's fun. I will not tolerate bullies. And I assure you, I've been this way my whole life. So I call the Big Lion because you're like, oh, you're the protective type. When something goes wrong, you're always the first person to solve the problem. You're the one that sorts it out. Everything goes wrong. It's like we're walking anywhere in the world that we've been. People come up to you, of all the people, and ask for directions. Mm-hmm. It's like, and you always help them. It's like, and because there's something about you that knows if they come to you, that they know you're going to take care of them. And you're a natural protector. And that's who I am. I don't like bullies, and I'm a natural, innate, it's part of my DNA. Like, you're a great athlete. I wish I had those skills. Instead, I'm a natural protector of people. People matter to me. It's human need human beings. We're all the same. We just have to treat everyone with respect. If you have someone like that, with that attitude as land commissioner, even if you're a Republican, I'm going to save you too. I don't care who you are.
Y'all heard that, Republicans? He's going to throw a buoy out there in the water for you, too. He doesn't care if you have on a full red suit, a full red dress, shoes. Hey, your whole state can be red. He's going to throw a buoy out there in the water to protect you also. And before we end the show, that was a great answer. Thank you. But before we end the show, I have to touch on this bully thing, because we are very big on being champions for champions against domestic violence here at Real Talk 100 Radio, and we've had several conversations over the last month with our partner. Shout out to her, Miss Wendy Quick. She has an organization called Help Me. It's a long name. Help Me. It's called Movement Against Domestic Violence of All Types. That's the name of. That's who we've partnered with for our upcoming fashion show. And she has a daughter that's been bullied. She stays, they're Caucasian, and they stay in a predominantly Hispanic community. And we love our Hispanics, but man, they're bullying this child. They're bullying her every day. And I always joke with her. It's a joke to me, because when I was a kid, not really a joke, but it's something near to my heart, because as a kid, I was like you. It was a village. Okay. I don't care if I'm Mr. Star Athlete. I have a band, friends who are in the band, friends who are actors, who are a little nerdy. Why do you, somebody big, burly, whatever, tough, why do you want to pick on this little nerd? Pick on me. That was me all through high school. And I tell my friend that all the time. You don't have any friends that look out for you? And she's like, no, all they want to do is video it. That's how society has changed. They don't want to protect anymore. It's all about getting their views up.
Well, Malcolm, you and I are old school in that respect. And you know what? I don't apologize for it at all.
No,
I will
no,
continue
sir.
to fight and
No,
stop
sir.
bullies whenever I see them.
Wherever they stand. Thank you, Mr. Lange, for coming tonight. Thank you.
It's been Brent. Thank you so much. I can't believe you have 5 sons. I'm so jealous.
Yeah.
I only got 2.
One girl.
I wanted 6. I got 2. I'm happy. Malcolm, you've been a star. Thank you very much. And I really appreciate y'all being here tonight. And I hope, if anything, your listeners at least have learned a little bit more about how the land commissioner is so important to their lives, and doing it
I hope
right
so.
is even more important.
I hope so. I hope so. Once again, y'all make sure you go to Lange4Land.com. That's Lange4Land.com and learn more about this guy. If they wanted to talk to you in person, do you have an open line? Maybe.
Well, the best way is if you go email info@Lange4Land. We monitor that. And if you have a question, or even easier, on the website, you can sign up. And when you sign up, you can ask a question and we'll respond back to you.
Okay.
That's
Easy. And there's on the website, there's 3 short videos. Watch those. This is me in action. You hear me saying things. You also find out why the spirit of Texas is so strong inside me. I have a great Alamo story, which we didn't get to, but have a watch. It's less than 2 minutes, but it's a worthwhile story. And how an immigrant, son of immigrants, became more Texan than any Texan you might know.
immigrants. I'm sorry, I didn't know that when I gave you the opportunity to say something about something we may have left out. I didn't know. I thought you got everything out. Let's tell us about the Alamo.
So, all right. So my parents, they said, look, we've come to America.
Mm-hmm.
Their country was destroyed by World War II. So they had left to come here to find a better, safer life.
Okay.
But they said, we don't know what it is to be American or a Texan. So my parents, being very practical people, said, you know what? How do we learn how to be Texans? We have to learn Texas history. How do we learn Texas history? You can read it in a book or whatever. But no, they said, we're going to physically go where Texas history happened. So with my sisters and I, we went to the San Jacinto battleground. And I learned all about the San Jacinto battle, right? Which was amazing as a young child. And we didn't have a lot of money. Money was really tight. Okay, we didn't have a lot. Then we went to Washington on the Brazos in Washington County, where the Texas Declaration of Independence was actually signed. Okay. Then the last thing, which was expensive, so we didn't get to go. My dad had to work, so he couldn't go. But my mom and my sister and I, we took the Greyhound bus to San Antonio. And it was exciting for us because I'd never been on a Greyhound bus before. I'd never been to San Antonio. I'm about 11 years old. And our goal was this, to go to the Alamo, to find out what happened to Alamo ourselves. So I'm all excited. We get there. The next morning we go there. And it's during the week because it's summertime. It actually wasn't very crowded that day. At that time, the Daughters of the Republic of Texas kind of ran it, not like today. So we got this incredible tour. And we're kind of at the end of the tour in the back of the church. And someone opens the front door of the chapel. So the Alamo Complex was quite large during the battle, but what remains left is just the Alamo Church. So it's a lot smaller now. And everyone always says, you go there, God, it's really small. But it is, but it's not it was originally. And there's a song called the Deguello. It's a song that's played on a trumpet. And Deguello translates into slit throat, cut throat. And on the 13th day of the Battle of the Alamo defenders heard that first thing in the morning. And Santa Anna said, look, all of you are going to die. There are going to be no prisoners. The Deguello. And there's actually a bit of that in my website. So the Alamo defenders, they heard this and they knew they were going to die no matter what happened. Guess what they did? They kept fighting. And so here I'm sitting in the back of the Alamo Church. The door opens up and somebody on the trumpet's playing the Deguello on the street. I'm hearing this. I'm like, this is crazy. I'm here for the first time and I hear this Deguello as if I'm the last Alamo defender. And then this very nice tour guide looked at me and says, Michael, do you see where you're standing in the back of the church? I said, yeah. She goes, that's the place probably where the last Alamo defender died. So here I am, my first time. I hear on the street someone playing the Deguello, and I'm standing in the place where the last Alamo defender probably died. Think about that for a second. Then I turned around, And there's some plaques that are around the back of the church. And at the time, they're brass plaques, and they list the names of all the people they knew who were the defenders who died. And you and I realize the DeGuayo, standing in the place where the last Alamo defender died, almost all the people who died at the Alamo were immigrants, like my family.
Yes, sir.
So I realized in that moment, age 11, the Alamo defenders were immigrants, or
Yes,
some
sir.
immigrants.
Yes, sir.
They're the ones who created the opportunity for liberty that we sit here in Texas to this day. They gave up their tomorrows so we could have our lives today.
Yes, sir.
And at that moment, for some reason, the spirit of Texas gripped me. It's in my blood, it's under my skin, because I realized that Texas is here today because those immigrants, like my family, sacrificed their tomorrows for our today. And this is why it's so important to me. It's why I said I've served two flags. I'm a proud American. Texas is my home, and it's deep in the heart, and that's why.
Love it, man. I love it, man. So that goes without saying. It goes without saying that, I had another question, but I said, well, maybe that's treading on thin ice there. I better not ask that. But you talked about immigrants, and how you feel about immigrants. So does that go without saying? I'll ask my question. I won't try to. How do you feel about the immigrants that are wanting to come into America? Can you touch on that without breaking the ice? Can you, is that something sensitive that you would rather stay away from?
I come from a family of immigrants. This is who I am, right? I go back to what I said, treat everyone with equal respect. But here's the thing. If you come here, and there's the DREAM Act, DACA, right? You've been here for a long time. You're working. You haven't committed a crime. You're a good person.
Right.
And I know that things have passed to get this going, but give these people a path to citizenship. Let them become Americans. Let them become Texans. Don't make this such a long, drawn-out affair. But at some point in time, you have to say, look, we're a nation of laws. We have to have some borders, and you have to respect borders and laws. We are a nation of laws. If we don't respect the laws, things can't get fixed. It can't get broken down. And all I'll say is this. The people who've been here for a long time and have proven they're good people, they're good Americans, let them be Americans. And other folks have to realize we are a nation of laws, and the laws matter.
How can you not like this guy? Huh? How can you not like this guy? I mean, he answered that perfectly. I mean, come on now. You have and some of these Republican friends,
Well,
I asked that question for y'all because I wanted to see how he answered it. And you cannot refute what he just said. You can't rebut what he just said. If you are living if you are living by the parameters of the government, you're allowed to stay, basically. If you're not, don't, right? Basically, isn't that what you said? And a lot of my Republican friends feel that way. They feel that way. So how could you not like Mr. Michael Lange? Come on now. When we get our phones back up and running, I would love to talk to y'all at 832-539-3838. That's 832-539-3838. We will get them back up and running probably as soon as the show is over with. I have too much going on the screen right now. But if you would like to call in right now, you can call in on my personal phone at 346-779-5831. That's 346-779-5831. You can call in right now. And hey, if you have anything to say about what he just said in rebuttal, I dare you. I want to hear it. I want to hear it because you answered perfectly. Thank you, Mr. Long.
My pleasure.
Thank you.
I've enjoyed it. And it's about authenticity.
Mm-hmm.
It's about being real.
That's right.
It's not a game. And people's lives are real. So you have to be real.
That's why we named it that.
Real 100. I love it.
Real talk. Real talk.
Say that either.
Say it again.
That's just kidding.
The last thing, my Ricky Varnum, he has a question for you. Tell me about the Texas Rangers being twice as worse as the KKK.
How can we make it better for the Texas Rangers and then even the ones that patrol our borders? I mean, of course we want to protect our borders and we don't want anybody coming over here trying to blow up our country. But I mean, it's called humane too. How do you get somebody in here that's like you're protecting the people, but we have to also protect our neighbors, right, especially the ones that come over here. And we need to, I'm one that believes, because Texas was built by the Mexicans. I'm sorry. This state was built by Mexicans. But my thing is, I'm all for not letting just any and everybody in this country, but there are some people that come here because the life that they're living is so horrific, you know, that this is going to get them and their families, just like your family came over to get a better life. And everybody deserves to have a better life, but at what risk do we take to do that? And how do we protect those that have a legitimate right to come over here and do that?
Yeah. And let's just talk about something very practical. Let's talk about agriculture again. In agriculture, there's something called seasonal workers. And to your point, how many people come across the border to work in Texas, in Georgia, Alabama, Mississippi? They come here for under contract for a few weeks, a few months to pick the things that we eat, that we go and buy in the store. Yeah. And guess what? Who wants to do that job? We need them. Yeah. We need these seasonal workers to help the farms and grow the food that we put on our table. We have to find a way to make sure that people that want to come here to work, to help us eat food.
But not just that, but are treated properly and getting the proper pay they're supposed to be getting. They got these people coming over here working for donuts. Yeah. You know?
Yeah, it's a challenge. And the land commissioner has a big job. There's actually other people who deal with that. So yeah. I think I have enough priorities. but I will say this, remember, the small businesses and the agriculture is all part of it. And that's the thing. Right. In government, there's no like, you do what I say. Because in business, here's the big difference that I found. In the big business, the bottom line is profits. It's you have to make money or you're out. And if you don't make money, you're gone. In state government, the bottom line, money's really important. It really is. But guess what the bottom line is? People. If the people are safe, the people living better lives, are being taken care of, that's the bottom line. The money's really important too, don't get me wrong, but the bottom line is people.
If the people are safe, the money will come.
Yeah. And if you build a safe environment, businesses will come here and hire more Texans, and more businesses will start. Because if you have a safe environment, people are well educated,
people will come.
And that's why we're going to be saving 54 million. But the thing is, we got to be 54 million people living well, not living in fear. Right. And not living in a state of hate. I really don't like the fact that I have friends tell me that their children,
talk about it.
Their 7, 8-year-old children.
Talk about it. We can talk as long as we want to.
Hatred is not something a state government should promote indirectly.
No, sir.
And that's not correct. And hatred is not going to get us anywhere. It's going to divide us, not unite us.
Talk about it.
What's they say?
Yes, sir.
There's unity in community.
Yes, sir.
There's power in unity.
Yes, sir.
And unity is the future. And we treat everyone with respect.
I'm going to say it again. How can you hate this guy? Go ahead.
Hey, I'm just saying, hate and racism ain't going nowhere. It just is. It's, it's a inherited thing. It's taught. Hate, racism, and things like that. That's taught because when children are small, they'll play with anybody. They don't care. That's right. So when they become of age and can get that understanding, they're taught that. And it's as long as we have people that believe like that and think like that and feel the way they feel, we're not going to get rid of it. But what they better know is it ain't like it used to be. It ain't nothing like it used to be.
No, it's not like it used to be. But when you have someone in office like Mr. Lange, hey, birds of a feather flock together. I've always lived by that. And I think that, at some point, I'm not sure if he would have, jurisdiction over hate, so to speak, but someone in his circle of influence surely should be able to say at some point, and I'm not a politician when I say this, I just speak from a normal everyday citizen's perspective when I say, at some point, somebody should be able to say, look, y'all want to spread all this hatred and perpetuate all this hatred. Hey, there's an island out there for
That's what I was going to say. Put them on their own island.
Let's put you out there.
Because it's more people that want to get along and love each other than it is people that want to hate each other.
Exactly.
Put them on an island and y'all can beat each other in the head until it all disappears.
Shoot each other up. Do all that.
All of that.
Bye. The island is out there.
They passed them gun laws. I got mine.
That's something I always say, but is that a possibility one day? I mean, is it possible for someone in government to say, you know what? You're spreading all this hatred in our country, or a country full of love. This is America. We're going to exile you. Look, that island is out there for all you haters. Is that possible?
I hope not. And here's why.
You hope not.
I hope not.
You want the haters here?
No, because I believe in people. And I think a lot of people are socialized, to your point, to be that way. But you know what? A successful leader is a role model. If there's a person who has a very, very difficult life and they commit crimes when they're young because maybe their life wasn't that great, if they can reform themselves and make them better, I believe my faith teaches me to give people a second chance.
Valid point.
And there are people who can't be changed. I agree with that. But you know what? There's a lot of good people out there. We don't know. We don't understand what they've been through in their life. We understand what's happened. But if you, like my mother always used to say, the most important thing she learned in America, and this is 20th century, was in Texas, the kindness of strangers. The people who didn't know them, but just looked at them and said, look, y'all are trying hard to do well. And if there's someone who's had a tough upbringing, something's gone wrong, and they want to get better, and they get better and they become productive members of society, at least give them a chance.
Reach one, teach one.
Yeah. But to your point, there are some people who will never change their mind.
They will never change.
And I get that too.
Yeah.
But yeah, I do think you've got to give people a chance if they want to. If they don't want to, maybe there's that island.
Because I think it has to get to a point where there is, like you said, the fairness. Because you have a lot of the Republicans that cause a lot of things to happen to us and for us that aren't fair, and then when they brought Trump in, Lord Jesus, I don't know what they were thinking about. This man is a Looney Tin dum-dum, and I said it, yes I did, he's a dum-dum. Y'all elected the dumbest person in the United States to be president, and he came in here just, foolishness. He did. It didn't make any sense. And he didn't offend just people. He offended women. He offended children. He offended people's religion. You hit everybody. And a lot of the Republicans walked away from him. Mm-hmm. That says a lot.
Yes, indeed. Yes, indeed.
Make better choices, y'all. We have to make better choices. That's why we're choosing him. Got to make better choices.
That's very kind. Thank you.
The entire last hour and a half or two have been all about respecting others, loving others. It's all about supporting the little people, supporting everybody, respecting everybody's perspectives. That's what Mr. Lange for Land Commissioner is all about. We want you to vote for him. We're standing behind him at Real Talk 100 Radio, and we want you to stand behind him too. If you want to learn more about him, all you have to do is go to Lange for Land. Did I say that correctly?
Langeforland.com.
Langeforland.com. That is LangeFor Land, LAND.com. Langeforland.com, and find out everything you'd like to learn about him. He's got a link on there where you can converse with him personally. It's an email. Just click info. I believe I wrote it down. Info at Langeforland.com, correct?
That's correct.
Info for Langeforland.com. You can communicate with him directly. Hey, y'all, the voting won't start until when?
February 14th, early voting.
Early voting.
Early voting.
14th to the 25th, early voting.
Yeah.
But the big day is March 1st.
March
7 a.m. to 7 p.m.
March 1st is the big day. Y'all get ready for it.
And if you're not registered to vote, please go register.
And the deadline for registration is January 31st. You can register online.
Yes.
Text.gov.
We have a lot of babies that have turned 18 in the last 6 months. Get them registered.
There you go.
They need to register to vote. I take my sons by their ears and make them go and vote.
And you can find your polling places for the primary at text.gov online.
Okay.
So, or you go to Harris County Democratic Party
Okay.
and find out where all the polling locations are for the early voting. So
Okay.
that's where to find it. It's real easy.
That was my next question.
Say
Where can they
text.com
vote?
online.
Text at texas.gov or Harris County Democratic Party,
Okay.
and you can find the polling locations
Okay.
in your area for the primary voting.
Okay.
Awesome. Thank y'all for tuning in tonight to the After Dark with Malcolm and Lisa show on Real Talk 100 Radio. Most of you are probably saying, he said After Dark with Malcolm and Lisa, and I don't see Lisa anywhere. So shout out to her. Much love to her. She's on another assignment. We are not only about music, we're about politics as we've been here tonight, and she was on a business venture. So much love to her, and she will be back on Wednesday night on our After Dark with Malcolm and Lisa show, or next Monday night also, excuse me. We have a lot coming up on Real Talk 100 Radio. Y'all keep it locked. Anyone that's into music, Y'all keep it locked to Real Talk 100 Radio till 6 a.m. every night from 7 p.m. to 6 a.m. in the morning. It's all about underground music. During the daytime, we censor ourselves, and it's easy listening music all day long. Go to www.realtalk100radio.com from your phones, your laptops, or your Bluetooth devices. Yes, you can listen to us in the car on your Bluetooth devices. We'll see y'all next week on After Dark with Malcolm and Lisa. We're out. Say goodbye to Mr. Lange. We'll see you soon, sir.
Y'all have a good one. Thank you.